Welcome to Nine's Late News. I'm Michael Genovese and these are your headlines this Thursday night. A new country dragged into the Middle East conflict as fighting enters its sixth day. Back in each other's arms, Australians return from the Middle East, but the wait continues for thousands more. 2 PMs, one message, an important alliance forged in Canberra during uncertain times. Plus, we chat all things F1 ahead of the first race of the new season and a rare public appearance from the police officer who brought down a Bondi terrorist.
This is 9 News with Michael Genovese.
Good evening. We begin with numerous developments coming out of the Middle East, where the war has now entered its sixth day and there are no signs of it slowing down. Let's head straight to Mimi Becker in Tel Aviv. Mimi, it's a new day there and a new country has now been drawn into the conflict.
Michael, a new country has been drawn into the conflict, but here in Tel Aviv we are also hearing a missile alert come through. So there are some bangs in the sky at the moment, but things have been relatively safe given the situation. But as you say, another country has been drawn into this war, and Azerbaijan has now been hit, it claims, by an Iranian drone. So that is what we're hearing in terms of that. It's understood that 2 people may have been injured in that incident, and it says that it is now preparing retaliatory measures after that attack. So that drone crashed on the terminal building of the international airport there in Azerbaijan. Now, we also have an update on Cyprus today. They are reporting a security incident near a RAF base there, and Cyprus says an alert for new security threats in a village near the RAF base has ended, but after that alert was issued. So that's some of the updates from here on the ground in Tel Aviv.
Mimi, we're also learning that Australians were in fact on board a US submarine that launched the torpedo attack to sink an Iranian warship.
Yeah, this was a really powerful attack from the United States. The torpedo attack sunk that Iranian warship in seconds, and we have reports that 2 Australians were on board. It's understood that 87 people were killed in that attack and 180 people were thought to be on board. Now, Iran has warned the United States and Israel that it will face repercussions for that torpedo attack, and it is reported that that is the first enemy ship to be taken down by a torpedo since World War II. But I'll just show you around here, Michael. This is the streets of Tel Aviv. We've just had a missile alert come through and it is effectively empty. Before this, there were cars on the street, people sitting on these park benches, but right now it is incredibly quiet. Everyone has gone into this apartment building on this side of the road. They're about 2 floors underground, but things seem to have subsided for now. We have already heard the bangs overhead. Usually we then receive a text message clearing the alert, but this is what the people of Tel Aviv are living through at the moment. Things were meant to open up today, cafes, restaurants, and people were allowed to return to work, but they are living with this threat of war here and, of course, across the border in Lebanon and in Iran every day now. Michael.
An important insight, Mimi Becker. We're going to leave you there in Israel and head straight to Qatar, which has tonight come under a fresh missile attack. And Australian Trina Hockley remains stranded there. Joining me now from Doha, Trina, thank you for coming on again. Can you just tell us what's happened there in the last hour or so?
Yeah, I went out for a walk. It's been very quiet the last 2 days, so everybody's out and about. So I went for a walk along the waterfront and then just turned around and the sound was enormous. And ahead you could just see all these white trails of the missiles. And then it just continued. So it's the first time I've actually been scared. So made my way back to the hotel. On the way back there was another round. We were looking for shelter in case there was any debris, and then got back to the hotel and down to the basement.
Were there any warnings before you heard those missiles?
No, nothing.
You're in such a precarious situation there. In terms of getting you home, any development since we spoke to you last night?
No, the Australian government haven't made any decisions. The other countries have. The Germans had 1 bus leave this morning to go across to Riyadh and fly out to Frankfurt, but their second bus was cancelled due to the missiles.
What about communication with the Australian government? What's that been like?
Yeah, I actually had a visit from the ambassador, so that was good. Not that he had anything much to add, but they came and they listened.
What did they say? What sort of information are you getting there?
We have nothing to tell you. I believe we will be bussed out to Riyadh eventually. I can see that's the only way out, because after this last missile attack, they've actually even cleared out the baggage handlers from the airport at Doha, and there's absolutely no one on site at all.
Yeah, that makes it hard. Talk us through what you're actually doing day to day now. Are you staying inside?
Well, we were staying inside, and then they opened up the pool, which is outside, so we could sit around the pool. And then they said you can walk to the shops, which is like a block away. And so today everyone was really relaxed and out strolling around, and yeah, I won't be going out again.
Any estimated date for when you might come back home?
Absolutely nothing. No idea.
So what do you do then?
There's nothing I can do. I mean, people are hiring cars, trying to get over to Riyadh, but I was talking to people at lunch, you can't get visas anymore to get across the border. Apparently there's bandits and people asking for exorbitant amounts of money to help. So I just said I'm going to wait till the Australian government actually does something.
How much is it costing you to stay there?
Nothing. The Qatari government's covering the accommodation and now the meals. They weren't covering meals originally, but now they are.
Trina, we're going to leave you there, but we will continue to check in on you. We've got a lot of people following your progress or lack thereof, but we will check in for another update shortly. Trina Hockley, live in Doha, where she remains trapped. Good luck, stay safe. A second plane load of Australians escaping the conflict in the Middle East is about to touch down in Sydney, with 2 more in the air. Now, we've seen touching scenes at the terminals after a traumatic waiting game.
A wartime evacuation and home never felt so good.
Yeah, she's back!
The arrival hall at Sydney Airport overflowing with relief and joy for loved ones who've been trapped for 5 days in an unfolding battle.
Just I'm worried about her to get back home, and that's it.
In our family, it's the happiest days in our life,
exactly.
Having her back.
The lucky 200 people were on the first repatriation flight out of Dubai to Australia.
14 Super Sydney Tower, good evening and welcome back. It has been a moment.
Thanks to Emirates for getting us home on this flight. What was touchdown? Everyone was cheering and clapping. Quite emotional, yeah, glad to be home.
And that's understandable. It was as if everyone had their own story of being caught up in a war.
The booms and the booms, the sirens went off, and you look in the sky and all these missiles, the fiery trails are coming, and everybody starts freaking.
Professional tennis player James McCabe was in the middle of a match.
Yesterday, a drone hit probably 10 minutes from where we were playing, and the oil factory was going up in smoke and we were right next to it, so it was a bit scary.
A group of students from Sydney's Barker College were en route to Turkey for a robotics competition.
Some of them have seen some things that we need to talk to them a bit about, some debriefing. We'll do that. But in the meantime, we just rejoice that they're home safe.
For Philip Vins, the fear factor haunted him to the end.
There were still explosions happening around 10 p.m. as we actually get into the airport.
Mum, how are you feeling as well? Oh, I'm so relieved. I'm so happy to have him home.
And there were Americans and Canadians on board, so desperate to get out, it didn't matter where they ended up.
I kept booking flights. This one actually went through, so thank you, Australia.
But for some, it came at a huge cost.
More than $100,000 to get back home.
US, yeah. We're not done yet.
And as many watched the war play out from their hotel rooms or on the streets, they marvelled at the UAE's defence system.
They were really good. Like, they intercepted a lot, and like, as scary as it is, like, you somewhat felt like safe in a way.
Last night's scenes are expected to be repeated here this evening as another repatriation flight is bound for Sydney. An Operation Bring Them Home is cranking up. At least 2 more plane loads tomorrow, including one to Melbourne. And it was just in time for bride-to-be Alessandra Fascaldo.
Mixture of emotions. We felt quite safe overall, but we're getting married next week, so finally we can make that wedding.
Damien Ryan, 9 News.
Extraordinary vision has emerged out of Syria today. The remains of an Iranian projectile lodged in the ground near the city of Qamishli. The missile was intercepted by Israeli defence systems. Children then pictured gathering around and climbing on it. The war is dividing opinion around the world, not least in the United States, where President Donald Trump's approval rating has taken a hit. With that, let's bring in former advisor to President Bill Clinton, Laura Swartz, late news regular. Laura, it's good to see you again. Thanks for chatting. Americans are thinking that Trump is losing sight of the important problems there in the United States.
That's right, Michael. Donald Trump was elected with the popular vote as well as the electoral vote because his message through the election was that I will not start new wars. We will focus on what is here at home. It's America's first strategy. And since then, and his inauguration, a lot of Americans have been disappointed that he's spent more time looking at events overseas than here at home. And that's why it is so divided, much along party lines. The majority of Democrats, majority of independents, which got him elected, all say this is wrong and we disapprove of the war. But now we are seeing breaks within the Republican Party as well for that same reason. They want to focus back on America, affordability, and other bits. And I have to say, the administration hasn't done themselves any favor because they really didn't get public buy-in. When we went to war in Iraq, George Bush had gotten America to swell with support at about 70%. And that really helped in the outset of the war before the war dragged on. There was no public buy-in had. And since our attack, there's been shifting explanations of the why. So America just feels very unclear why we are there. And now, what is the outcome? What is the goal to expect?
We're a long way away. We're typically hearing from people via a microphone, but what's been the average reaction from the average American on the street there? Are people in support or against this war?
Their majority is against it, especially now that we've had 6 U.S. service members killed in action. You know, the public can get behind a well-defined war, military conflict, but it just hasn't been defined. Our military is extraordinary. The intel agents have done an incredible job. The Ayatollah had to go, but it's how it's being done and what's next, because to have full regime change, if that is the goal, really takes a political solution. It may take boots on the ground, of which the president has not ruled out, which worries the American people. We just got out of Afghanistan in a very difficult way, which plunged Joe Biden for the rest of his administration. America does not want to see a long war again, and yet Donald Trump has said, as close as yesterday, that he's got no time frame.
It was only last week that you and I were speaking about Trump's State of the Union address. It feels like a month ago. That turned out to be just a matter of days before he and the US would launch this attack on Iran. In hindsight, was the writing on the wall?
Well, we knew that there was the largest military buildup in the Middle East since we went to war in Afghanistan and Iraq. So that was apparent. But that State of the Union, what we talked about, Michael, part of it I remember is that it was the longest State of the Union ever made by a president of the Congress in the country. And yet only 3 minutes were spent on Iran. And so, again, it goes back to informing the American people, not giving away any secrets, not giving away any timing, but discussing the relevance and the prevalence that America needs to get in there. It's not just taking Americans by surprise, but it's also taken a lot of our partners and allies that we need to bring into the fold. Now they are coming in, and we are grateful for the Australian support and others from around the globe. But this is a time for building, for executing, not for building a case.
Laura Swartz, we will no doubt be speaking again soon. Thanks for your time this evening. The Matildas have defeated Iran in their match at the Women's Asian Cup on the Gold Coast 4-0. Ahead of the game, Iranian Queenslanders rallied outside, speaking out on behalf of the players. Lily Greer was there.
For the sellout crowd of Matildas fans who are right now streaming into Cbus Super Stadium here at Robina on the Gold Coast, this is what they cannot miss as they make their way into the clash between the Aussie side and Iran's women's football team. A huge crowd of Iranian Australians making their voices heard. They are loud, they are proud of their homeland, and they are speaking out against the country's government. They've got photos down the front here of people they say have been killed by the Islamic regime. They've got flags, they've got photos of US President Donald Trump, and they have been playing the YMCA, which is a song that we would typically hear at one of his rallies. They've also been chanting Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. They tell me that this protest, this demonstration was always going to be taking place this evening. They had planned it long ago, but recent events in their homeland is making it all the more meaningful. And they tell me they are here because Iran's women's football team, there are claims that that team has been quite closely monitored and controlled by regime officials since they have been in Australia. We know that team had a form of silent protest in their last match against South Korea where they did not sing their country's national anthem. And this is what one of the organisers had to say to us earlier this afternoon.
And that's why we are here to support Iranian girls and stand against, oppression of the Islamic regime.
This protest has been approved by local police and it is a peaceful one, but there is plenty of security around the stadium this evening just to make sure that everything does stay peaceful. And it is starting to rain as well, but it certainly feels like that will not be dampening the spirits of fans or of demonstrators.
Still to come on Nine's Late News, the Prime Minister hosts his Canadian counterpart for dinner at the Lodge. The closest of calls, a man in a terrifying lift malfunction, plus the first race of the new season. We chat all things Formula One ahead of the Australian Grand Prix. Add your footy wrap as the Eels suffer a storm washout while the Swans claim the AFL season opener. Live on 9 and streaming on 9 Now. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. The former Jetstar pilot accused of killing missing camper Carol Clay in Victoria's High Country will stay in jail after his bid for freedom was refused. Publicity about his life before the case and likely further delays were among the many reasons his lawyer argued he should be freed, telling the court his chance at a fair retrial had been obliterated. Lynn is expected to appear in court again in July. Tonight, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is dining at the Lodge in Canberra before concluding his trip to Australia. Federal politics reporter Amanda Kopp has more.
The Prime Minister's residence is the final stop for Canada's leader Mark Carney, arriving there tonight with his wife for dinner, hosted by Anthony Albanese and his wife Jodie. The Canadian PM spent the day in the capital at Parliament House discussing how to bring Australia and Canada closer together despite the vast distance between our two nations. The focus was on defence and economic ties, with commitments made on mining, critical minerals, clean energy and AI. The Canadian PM in a powerful speech to Parliament, emphasising the need for middle powers to form stronger alliances to better protect against increasingly volatile superpowers like China, Russia and America.
The world will always be driven by great powers, but it can also be shaped by middle powers that trust each other and act with speed and purpose.
When we work together, it is on the basis of our shared convictions, not mutual convenience.
The rules-based international order has been exposed as wishful thinking of a bygone and benign era.
When the rules no longer protect you, you must defend yourself.
A nod to the shifting sands of global rules and norms. Canada's PM, one of the more vocal world leaders on the need for his own country and others, like Australia, to pivot away from the United States. Mark Carney moving to include Europe, India and Japan in new economic and security alliances. Australia, for its part, recognising the need to diversify in an increasingly uncertain world.
A date has been set for a by-election in Farrer, Susan Lee's former electorate. One Nation is expected to be competitive for the traditionally Liberal seat, though all the candidates are yet to be finalised. Voters in southwestern New South Wales will head to the polls on Saturday, May 9. Excitement is building in Melbourne as the first race of the new F1 season gets underway. F1 journalist Chris Medland is there. Joining me now, Chris. Melbourne's pumping. You've just got back from a fan event there in the city. What's the vibe like?
Yeah, it's always a great vibe. I mean, even if it's not the first race of the season, it's always great here in Melbourne. It's a big highlight for everyone working in Formula One, but we've got a huge crowd expected over the next 3 or 4 days. I mean, some of them were at the track today as well, and they're all really looking forward to seeing what Formula One's going to be like.
First race, new season. This year we're seeing some new regulations. Is that going to cause dramas for some teams?
It could do, yeah. We've certainly got one team, Aston Martin, who are really struggling with their car. It looks like they won't really have a car that's capable of completing a race distance with their drivers struggling with vibrations from it, apparently to the extent that it could cause some nerve damage for them with the vibrations through the steering wheel. So that shows the level of the challenge, actually, that the teams have been focusing on when they've been developing these brand new cars. But for most others, they've been looking like they've actually hit the ground running pretty well. I think we're going to have a good competitive race, and 4 teams maybe that can be targeting victory on Sunday in the form of McLaren, Mercedes, Red Bull and Ferrari. So it's a great place to be for the first race.
Vibrations through the steering wheel, is that a track problem or is that more equipment based? Talk us through that.
Yeah, very much equipment based. So it's that the engine itself is actually causing these vibrations. The new engine that's in the back of the Aston Martin car, which is developed by Honda. And those vibrations then go into the chassis, which is a very stiff item. And that then makes its way through the steering column and the steering wheel to the driver's hands. So it's something they're trying to resolve. It's a big, big problem. But obviously it rattles the car to pieces as well. It's bad for reliability in that sense. But when the drivers can't stand it for the 58 laps they need to race, it could be a big, big issue. So unless they solve that over the next 2 days, on Sunday, I don't think we'll see either of them finish.
The only Aussie, Oscar Piastri, the hopes of the country riding on him, how's he going to go?
It's going to be tough for Oscar, actually. I think McLaren look like they'll deliver a car that can win some races this year, can maybe fight for a championship this year. But the very early signs that there may be just a slight step behind the other 3 teams that are in the mix at the front. So Mercedes are a lot of people's favourites. Red Bull look like they've got some good pace. And Ferrari, too, has started strongly. McLaren are definitely in that mix. But whereas 12 months ago, they were the lead team, and you could quite confidently say they'd be fighting for the win, right now, it's not so clear if they'll be fighting for that win. So solid points might be a good result, but I think a lot of people would like to see him at least get on the podium and then that duck, because we've never had an Aussie finish on the podium at their home race.
Fingers crossed. Chris Medland, thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
The Melbourne Storm have clinched their 23rd consecutive round 1 victory with a stunning 52-4 win over the Eels. Both teams losing players early on in the game, with Jermaine Hopgood sin-binned for high contact over a hit on Alec McDonald. Despite being a man down, the Eels struck first with a piece of Harry Grant magic that saw the Storm surge.
Some momentum here. Harry Grant sensed it. Oh, strolls right through.
The Eels will have to regroup for round 2 when they take on premiership winners, the Brisbane Broncos. The AFL season has bounced down at the SCG with the Swans taking on the Blues. But before the action got underway, a tribute to remember those who died and were injured in the Bondi Beach attack.
Tonight we stand with their families and friends united. We also acknowledge the many brave men and women who assisted on the day and in the days and weeks which followed.
Bondi heroes Ahmed Al-Ahmed and Detective Senior Constable Caesar Barraza amongst those honoured for their bravery taking down the gunman. On the field, the Sydney Swans took away the season opener honours 132-69. If you're scared of elevators, it's best you look away now. Footage emerging showing the moment a man steps out of a lift before it continues surging past the floor. It happened at Valsad in India, and it's believed he walked away with minor head injuries. Stay with us when we return on our breaking news out of the Middle East. We'll have more for you. Plus, Scott Phillips has your finance news, including the latest household spending data. And Nathan Cleary facing quite the clean-up. Welcome back. Returning to our lead story on the conflict in the Middle East, and vision has emerged of an explosion in Azerbaijan. This near an airport 10 kilometres from the Iranian border, with accusations the attack came from Iran. It's the first time Azerbaijan has come under attack during this conflict, drawing a new country into the fighting. Time now to get a hit of finance, and as we look at the markets, we can see that at home the All Ords closed in the green, up 47 points. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones is higher, gaining 240 points, and in London the FTSE is steady. Checking the Aussie dollar, down against the major currencies, right now buying 60 euro cents, 70 US cents and 110 Japanese yen. Time now to bring in Scott Phillips, Chief Investment Officer at Motley Fool. Scotty, good evening. The ASX rebounded today. How did it do?
Jenna, good evening. A welcome rebound. We ended up in positive territory for both the ASX 200 and the All Ordinaries, the bigger index, both gaining nicely, over 1/3%. Now, not great, but given what's happening already this week, a very, very welcome change.
We'll take it. Household spending figures came out today. What picture do they paint?
A fascinating one. So we spent 0.3% more in the month of January, but interestingly enough, it was all in services. Services spending up 1%, goods spending down 0.3%. In other words, we bought less stuff, we did more things. There may be some hangover from maybe the Black November, the Black Friday sales that seem to go all month, maybe pulling a bit of demand forward from January as well as December, but services certainly kept us out of the red.
The CBA has given some rare good news about AI.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been about job cuts for the last few weeks, right? Every time we hear about AI, someone's saying how many jobs it's going to lose. The Commonwealth Bank reckons, and I hope they're right, that AI could boost economic growth without lifting inflation. Now, the Reserve Bank has said previously they think 2% growth is about as good as we can do unless productivity improves without being inflationary. And we know this week's GDP numbers were 2.6%. CBA is saying, well, hang on, if we can do more things but with either fewer people or do more things with the same amount of people, that is, use AI for the difference, maybe we can grow up to 3% without that inflationary outbreak. That would be very welcome news to mortgage payers.
It would be. Scotty, it's been a big week for you. Before I let you go, how are the US futures looking?
Oh, I've got to finish on a down note, unfortunately. Not by much, but early futures trading had Wall Street down about 0.2%.
Scotty Phillips, Motley Fool, thanks for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, Jenna.
It's a kitchen nightmare of a different scale for Nathan Cleary after the ceiling collapsed in the kitchen of his Sydney home. The Penrith Panthers halfback taking to Instagram in search of a magician to help repair this damage. Nathan purchased this home in 2023 off his father Ivan for $1.7 million. Coming up in the news, your latest national weather forecast. Welcome back. Time to take a look at your national weather forecast now. And a band of thick cloud over much of the north is caused by a monsoon trough. Some patchy low cloud over the east coast thanks to some onshore flow. A cold front moving through the Southern Ocean with Tasmania in its sights. Tomorrow, forecasts around the country, a possible shower developing in Sydney, 29 the top, overcast in Melbourne, 25 the maximum, Brisbane 30 with showers set to ease, Perth heating up 36 degrees tomorrow, Adelaide 27, 23 in Hobart, sunshine in Canberra, a top of 30, up to 70 millimetres of rain on the way for Darwin, 29 the top. Looking ahead to the weekend, up to 15 millimetres for Sydney on Saturday, a top of 29 degrees. Clouds sticking around in Melbourne, 21. Brisbane, 29 degrees. Even hotter in Perth, 38 the expected top. Adelaide, 27 degrees. Hobart, 20. Canberra expecting a shower or two and a possible storm, 28 degrees the maximum. And that rain continues in Darwin, 70 millimetres on the way come Saturday. Before we go, here's a quick look at what's coming up on Today.
Tomorrow, Dickie catches up with Lily Allen. Author Kathy Lett is here.
Plus, we are bringing back a Friday challenge. Can Carl handle Australia's strongest men?
If you missed anything from tonight's bulletin, you can catch up on 9 Now. This is 9's late news for this Thursday. I'm Michael Genovese. Thanks for your company. Good night.